Thoughts that forge your destiny. What if the very fabric of our being, our character, and even our destiny, isn't determined by external factors, but by something far more intimate and within our control? Ancient wisdom, perhaps more relevant today than ever, suggests that the landscape of our lives is meticulously sculpted by the unseen yet potent force of our own thoughts. As the profound aphorism declares, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This isn't just a quaint saying. It's a profound declaration that our character is nothing less than the complete summation of our inner dialogue. Just as a vibrant plant springs inevitably from its tiny seed, every action, every choice, whether spontaneous or meticulously planned, originates from the hidden seeds of thought. Without these underlying mental constructs, no outward manifestation could ever appear. Actions are the blossoms of these thoughts, and the joy or suffering we experience are their unavoidable fruits. We are, quite literally, harvesting the sweet and bitter produce of our own inner husbandry. As the poetic verse illustrates, "Thought in the mind hath made us. What we are by thought we wrought and built. If a man's mind hath evil thoughts, pain comes on him as comes the wheel the ox behind. If one endure in purity of thought, joy follows him as his own shadow, sure." This principle extends beyond mere individual acts. It governs the very making of our character. Human character is not a creation by artifice or a matter of chance, but a growth by immutable law. The law of cause and effect is as absolute and unwavering in the hidden realm of thought as it is in the visible, material world. A noble and virtuous character isn't a stroke of luck or divine favor, but the natural consequence of consistent effort in cultivating right thinking, the cumulative effect of long-cherished association with thoughts that elevate and inspire. Conversely, an ignoble or destructive character is the inevitable outcome of persistently harboring negative, self-defeating, or base thoughts. The powerful truth emerges: man is made or unmade by himself. In the boundless armory of his mind, he forges both the weapons that can lead to his own destruction and the tools with which he builds heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. By the conscious, right application of thought, humanity can ascend toward divine perfection. By its abuse and wrong application, one can descend below the level of the beast. Between these two extremes lie all the myriad grades of human character, and in every instance, man is their sole maker and master. Of all the profound truths rediscovering light in our modern age, none is more promising or gladdening than this: that man is the master of thought, the molder of character, and the maker and shaper of his conditions, environment, and ultimate destiny. As a being endowed with power, intelligence, and love, and the undeniable lord of his own thoughts, man holds the key to every situation. Within himself, he possesses the transforming and regenerative agency by which he may make himself precisely what he wills. Even in our weakest and most abandoned state, we remain masters, albeit foolish ones, misgoverning our inner household through ignorance or neglect. True wisdom begins when we pause, reflect deeply upon our condition, and diligently search for the immutable law upon which our being is established. It is then that we become the wise master, directing our energies with intelligence and fashioning our thoughts to fruitful issues. This conscious mastery is attained not by external decree, but by a profound process of application, self-analysis, and experience. Just as gold and diamonds are unearthed through diligent searching and mining, the profound truths of our being are found only by digging deep into the mine of our own soul. The irrefutable proof that we are the makers of our character, the molders of our life, and the builders of our destiny is revealed through vigilant observation, control, and alteration of our thoughts. By patiently tracing their effects upon ourselves, upon others, and upon our life circumstances, linking cause and effect with persistent practice and investigation, and by utilizing every experience, even the most trivial everyday occurrence, we gain that invaluable knowledge of self which leads to understanding, wisdom, and true power. In this profound quest, the law is absolute. He that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. For it is only through unwavering patience, diligent practice, and ceaseless importunity that a man can truly enter the door of the temple of knowledge, and thereby become the conscious architect of his own magnificent life. The garden of the mind. How your thoughts shape your reality. Imagine your mind as a garden. Not just any garden, but one teeming with potential, waiting to be cultivated. This profound metaphor, central to understanding the effect of thought on circumstances, suggests that whether we consciously tend to it or allow it to run wild, our mind, like any garden, will inevitably bring forth. If we plant no useful seeds, then an abundance of useless weeds will take root and flourish. Just as a dedicated gardener meticulously clears his plot of weeds, nurturing the desired flowers and fruits, so too can an individual tend the garden of their mind. This involves a conscious effort to weed out all wrong, useless, and impure thoughts, while diligently cultivating the flowers and fruits of right, useful, and pure thoughts towards perfection. Through this deliberate process, a transformative realization dawns. One becomes the master gardener of their soul, the true director of their life. Simultaneously, they begin to uncover the inherent laws of thought, gaining ever-increasing clarity on how mental forces and elements intricately shape character, circumstances, and ultimately, destiny. The unbreakable link: thought, character, and circumstance. The core principle at play here is that thought and character are intrinsically linked, forming a singular entity. Since character can only manifest and reveal itself through one's environment and prevailing circumstances, it follows that the outer conditions of a person's life will always be found in harmonious relation to their inner state. This isn't to say that current circumstances paint a complete picture of one's entire character, but rather that these conditions are so intimately connected with a vital thought element within, serving a crucial role in one's ongoing development. Every individual finds themselves where they are by the immutable law of their being. The thoughts that have been diligently built into their character are precisely what have led them to their current situation. In the grand tapestry of life's arrangements, there is no element of chance. Instead, everything is the precise result of a law that cannot err, a truth that holds equally for those who feel out of harmony with their surroundings as for those who are perfectly content. Circumstances as teachers, pathways to growth. Far from being random occurrences, circumstances serve as profound teachers on our journey of growth. As a progressive and evolving being, humanity is placed in specific situations for the purpose of learning and development. Once an individual grasps the spiritual lesson embedded within a particular circumstance, it naturally recedes, making way for new opportunities for growth. For too long, many find themselves buffeted by circumstances, believing themselves to be mere creatures of external conditions. However, a profound shift occurs when one awakens to the realization of being a creative power, a force capable of commanding the hidden soil and seeds of their own being, from which all circumstances spring. This awakening marks the moment when one truly becomes the rightful master of themselves. Cultivating your reality, the power of self-control. The direct correlation between thought and circumstance is a truth confirmed by anyone who has earnestly practiced self-control and self-purification. Such individuals inevitably observe that the alterations in their external circumstances precisely mirror their altered mental condition. So potent is this law that when a person dedicates themselves to remedying character defects and makes swift, marked progress, they often experience a rapid succession of transformative vicissitudes in their life. The soul, in its profound depth, attracts that which it secretly harbors, whether it be cherished aspirations or lurking fears. It can ascend to the heights of its noblest desires or plummet to the level of its unchastened impulses. Circumstances, then, are merely the means by which the soul receives its own, a mirror reflecting its inner landscape. Every thought, whether consciously sown or allowed to fall into the mind and take root, produces its own kind. Sooner or later, these thought seeds blossom into actions, bearing their unique fruitage of opportunities and circumstances. The rule is simple and unwavering: good thoughts bear good fruit, and bad thoughts bear bad fruit. Ultimately, the outer world of circumstance invariably shapes itself to align with the inner world of thought. Both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions serve as vital factors, meticulously designed to contribute to the ultimate good and development of the individual. As the conscious reaper of our own harvest, we learn and evolve through both the challenges of suffering and the blessings of bliss. By understanding and embracing this profound truth, we step into our inherent power, transforming from passive recipients of fate into active, conscious creators of our own destiny. The garden of your mind awaits your intelligent cultivation. What seeds will you choose to plant today? The unseen architect: how our inner world shapes our outer reality. We often look at our lives, our successes, struggles, joys, and sorrows, and attribute them to external forces: luck, fate, circumstance, or the actions of others. But what if the true architect of our reality resides within us? What if our deepest desires, aspirations, and even our most fleeting thoughts are the very blueprints from which our lives are built? This profound truth suggests a radical shift in perspective. Our outer conditions are not random occurrences, but the inevitable fruition and fulfillment of our inner world. The law of inner manifestation. The universe operates on discernible laws of growth and adjustment. Just as a seed sown determines the fruit it bears, so too do our dominant thoughts and desires dictate the landscape of our lives. When a man allows himself to be dominated by groveling thoughts and base desires, he charts a path not towards external liberation, but towards confinement, whether it be in an almshouse, a jail, or the metaphorical prison of his own making. Conversely, a pure-minded individual does not suddenly stumble into depravity. The criminal thought, much like a noxious weed, must have been secretly nurtured in the heart for a considerable time, awaiting the hour of opportunity to burst forth in its full, gathered power. Circumstance, a revealing mirror. Perhaps one of the most liberating insights is this: circumstance does not make the man, it reveals him to himself. Our external conditions are not tyrannical forces shaping us, but rather a mirror reflecting the purity or impurity, the strength or weakness of our inner self. It is impossible to descend into vice and its attendant sufferings without first cultivating vicious inclinations within. Equally, one does not ascend to virtue and its pure happiness without the continuous, deliberate cultivation of virtuous aspirations. This makes man, as the lord and master of thought, the true maker of himself, the shaper and author of his environment. From the moment of birth, the soul attracts those conditions that perfectly illuminate its inherent state, a direct reflection of its inner tapestry. Attracting what you are, not what you want. Herein lies a critical distinction. Men do not attract that which they want, but that which they are. Our casual whims, fleeting fancies, and even ambitious declarations are often thwarted because they are not aligned with our deepest, inmost thoughts and desires. It is these core internal states, whether noble or base, that are fed and nourished, ultimately manifesting in our outer lives. The divinity that shapes our ends, then, is not some external deity, but our very self. We are manacled only by ourselves. Our thoughts and actions are the jailers of fate when they are base, imprisoning us in cycles of negativity. But they are also the angels of freedom, liberating us when they are noble. Beyond wishful thinking, the path of earned reality. True transformation does not come from what one wishes or prays for, but from what one justly earns. Wishes and prayers are only gratified and answered when they harmonize with one's prevailing thoughts and actions. Many find themselves perpetually fighting against circumstances. This struggle is often a futile exercise, akin to battling a reflected image without addressing the source. It means continually revolting against an external effect while, all the time, nourishing and preserving its cause within the heart. This cause, whether conscious vice or an unconscious weakness, stubbornly retards effort and cries out for internal remedy. The uncomfortable truth of self-improvement. The fundamental impediment to progress is this: individuals are profoundly anxious to improve their circumstances, but largely unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. The pathway to true prosperity, health, and a well-poised life lies in a willingness to embrace self-crucifixion, a dedication to radical internal change and sacrifice. Consider the man trapped in wretched poverty. He desires improved surroundings and comforts, yet shirks his work and deceives his employer, justifying his actions by perceived insufficient wages. Such a man, dwelling in indolent, deceptive thoughts and actions, is not only unfitted to rise from his misery but actively attracts deeper wretchedness. Similarly, a wealthy individual suffering from a debilitating disease due to gluttony may offer vast sums for a cure, but remains unwilling to sacrifice his gluttonous desires. He seeks health without altering the habits that actively destroy it. Such a person is fundamentally unfit for health, having failed to grasp the foundational principles of a healthy life, which begin with self-mastery. Ultimately, our outer world is a living testament to our inner landscape. By understanding and embracing this profound truth, we step out of victimhood and into the empowered role of the conscious architect of our own destiny. The journey to a better life begins not with altering external conditions, but with transforming the thoughts and desires within. Title: The Law of Cause and Effect. Understanding the connection between thoughts, actions, and circumstances. In our lives, We often encounter situations where we feel that our circumstances are beyond our control. We may blame external factors such as bad luck, other people, or even fate for our misfortunes. However, the truth is that we are the architects of our own lives, and our thoughts and actions play a significant role in shaping our experiences. Consider the case of an employer who tries to cut corners by reducing wages to increase profits. This individual may believe that he is cleverly outsmarting the system, but in reality, he is setting himself up for failure. By prioritizing profit over the well-being of his employees, he creates an environment of mistrust and dissatisfaction, which ultimately leads to a decline in productivity and, eventually, financial ruin. This employer may blame external circumstances for his downfall, but the reality is that he is the sole author of his condition. This example illustrates the principle that our thoughts and actions are the cause of our circumstances. When we aim for a good end, we often inadvertently sabotage our efforts by harboring thoughts and desires that are incompatible with our goals. By recognizing this pattern, we can begin to take control of our lives and create the circumstances we desire. However, it is essential to note that circumstances are complex, and our thought processes are deeply ingrained. Therefore, it is not always possible to judge a person's soul condition based solely on their external circumstances. A person may be honest in some aspects of their life but still experience hardship, while another may engage in dishonest behavior yet enjoy material success. It is crucial to avoid making superficial judgments based on these external factors, as they do not necessarily reflect the individual's overall character. Suffering is often the result of mental inharmony, which occurs when our thoughts and actions are out of alignment with our true nature. By cultivating positive thoughts and engaging in right actions, we can create harmony within ourselves and with the world around us. This harmony leads to blessedness, which is not necessarily measured by material possessions but by the quality of our thoughts and actions. The law of cause and effect governs our lives, and our thoughts and actions are the primary determinants of our circumstances. By understanding this principle and taking responsibility for our thoughts and actions, we can create the life we desire and experience the blessings that come from living in harmony with ourselves and the world around us. The architect of your reality. Mastering life through the power of thought. In the vast spectrum of human experience, two extremes often define the nadir of suffering: indigence and indulgence. While seemingly disparate, the profound insight is that both represent states of profound wretchedness, unnatural conditions stemming not from external fate, but from a fundamental mental disorder. True well-being, a state of happiness, health, and undeniable prosperity, is the natural condition of a rightly conditioned human being. This ideal state arises from a harmonious adjustment, an alignment of the inner self with its outer surroundings. From victimhood to mastery, the dawn of self-awareness. A person truly begins to discover their humanity not when they lament their lot or rail against the world, but when they see such unproductive behaviors and embark on a diligent search for the hidden justice that underpins their very existence. As the mind begins to attune itself to this regulating universal factor, a powerful transformation occurs. The inclination to accuse others for one's circumstances dissolves, replaced by a conscious effort to cultivate strong and noble thoughts. No longer kicking against the pricks of circumstance, the individual learns to leverage these very conditions as stepping stones for more rapid progress, using them as tools to unearth the latent powers and possibilities dwelling within. The universe, far from being chaotic, operates on immutable principles. Law, not confusion, is its dominating force. Justice, not injustice, forms the very soul and substance of life. And righteousness, not corruption, is the molding and moving force in the spiritual governance of the world. This being the cosmic truth, the path to a harmonious life becomes clear. A man has but to right himself to find that the universe is right. And in this profound process of internal rectification, he will invariably discover that as he alters his thoughts toward things and other people, so too will things and other people alter their manifestations toward him. The unseen craftsman, thought, habit, and circumstance. The veracity of this truth is not an abstract philosophy. It is demonstrable within every individual. Through systematic introspection and rigorous self-analysis, anyone can investigate and prove it for themselves. Let a man radically alter his thoughts, and he will be astonished at the rapid and profound transformation it will effect in the material conditions of his life. Many mistakenly believe that thoughts can be kept secret, confined within the mind. But this is a dangerous illusion. Thought possesses a dynamic, creative energy. It rapidly crystallizes into habit, and habit, with undeniable certainty, solidifies into circumstance. Consider the destructive cycles. A bestial thoughts ferment into habits of drunkenness and sensuality, solidifying into circumstances of destruction and disease. Impure thoughts of every kind crystallize into enervating and confusing habits, which solidify into distracting and adverse circumstances. Thoughts of fear, doubt, and indecision crystallize into weak, unmanly, and irresolute habits, solidifying into circumstances of failure, indigence, and slavish dependence. Lazy thoughts crystallize into habits of uncleanliness and dishonesty, solidifying into circumstances of foulness and beggary. Hateful and condemnatory thoughts crystallize into habits of accusation and violence, which solidify into circumstances of injury and persecution. Selfish thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of self-seeking, solidifying into circumstances of increasing distress. Conversely, the path to flourishing is similarly charted by the mind. Beautiful thoughts of all kinds crystallize into habits of grace and kindliness, solidifying into genial and sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts crystallize into habits of temperance and self-control, which solidify into circumstances of repose and peace. Thoughts of courage, self-reliance, and decision crystallize into manly habits, which solidify into circumstances of success, plenty, and freedom. Energetic thoughts crystallize into habits of cleanliness and industry, which solidify into pleasant and productive circumstances. Gentle and forgiving thoughts crystallize into habits of genuine gentleness, which solidify into protective and preservative circumstances. Loving and unselfish thoughts crystallize into habits of self-forgetfulness for others, which solidify into circumstances of sure and abiding prosperity and true riches. A particular train of thought, persisted in, whether good or ill, cannot fail to produce its specific results on both character and circumstances. While a person cannot directly choose their circumstances, they possess the profound power to choose their thoughts, and thereby, indirectly yet surely, shape their circumstances. End of chapter 1.